If you're involved with Gregorian chant, you'll recognize this. This is Gregorian chant notation with the four-line stave, the square notes joined with lines, and etc. Very different from modern notation. And you may also be aware that the options for creating and editing scores in Gregorian chant are very difficult and challenging to use. There are various font sets, the most best known probably being the Meinrad font set, which has 3 font sets and basically maps your keyboard onto every possible Neume and every possible pitch. So you can imagine trying to figure out which key to press and which font to select just to place one Neume in one particular pitch becomes quite time consuming, and unless you're a monk whose job it is to do this all the time, it's just too slow and difficult. You could use general purpose graphic software like Illustrator or perhaps CorelDRAW. No limitations here. You can just put the notes wherever you like, but the program does not do anything to help you in this process, and take it from me, it's still a very slow and laborious process. Another option is dedicated software. The only one extant is Gregorian, at least that I'm aware of. And with Gregorian, you basically you're presented with a stave, and let's say you want to place a torculus. You're presented with every possible interval that those torculus you might want that torculus to cover. Similar for the pes, you throw in the charisma, liquescent. You pick the one that you want and you place it on the score. I'm informed that Gregorian doesn't even run in the current versions of Windows, Vista or Windows 7. As you can see, I've got it running on the Mac, but that's a story for another day. So this is the challenge, the need that the Neume Project seeks to address, about creating an easy-to-use yet fully flexible and powerful application for creating, editing, and managing musical scores in Gregorian chant notation. So we'll go straight to the editor. Starts out with a stave. We'll put a clef in there, C clef, and we'll drop in a Neume, a punctum. Now you see this right off the bat, the program is inviting you to input the text, so we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll just turn that option off for now. Call it auto text. And that's kind of a low pitch there. Let's bring it back up to C. Now let's do a little more complicated Neume. It's a torculus. And you see we don't get a selection of intervals. It's just one set, a third up and a third back down. What are we going to do with that? Well, we drop it into the score to begin with. And now we simply drag each punctum to the pitch we want. And you can see we can torture that poor torculus in ways that it was never meant to go. You have this power, use it responsibly. And you notice the program is adding ledger lines in as needed. So the next requirement for Neume's score notation is to accommodate the various modifiers, epismas, dots, etc. So let's just go through those, and we invoke the modifiers toolbar by holding down the Option key or the Alt key and clicking on a punctum. And there's the palette, and starting from the top we can add text. If we've got auto text turned off, we can go ahead and add it to individual Neumes. Next up we have a dot, and we'll notice that The dot steers clear of the stave lines, always stays in the space. I think that's a handy feature. Next up is an episma, and for that I think perhaps we'll create a salicus. So something like this. And now we want to add the episma. We do that. And then we'll throw in another torculus. And that was a vertical episma. We can add a horizontal episma over individual notes. Let's just make sure we got the individual note. And as you'll see, it does keep the episma clear of the stave line. Now, if we want an episma over the whole neume, instead of clicking on an individual note, we'll just click on the selector as a whole and add it, and it'll draw it over the whole, the neume as a whole. Now, if we want to add a liquescent, we take a clevis. We want to make the second punctum liquescent. Just select liquescent from the modifier, and see, we can still change the pitch. Turn it off. It's just repeating the same process. We select liquescent and converts it back to a punctum. Now we're going to throw in a bar line. And let's say we want to do a clef change. So we're going to change the clef and put in a new neume. And we see the program automatically inserts the appropriate custos for the clef change. And updates it as needs. Now obviously that isn't really a clef change, so we'll just put that back. The program has the usual editing features. There's undo, and you can redo either from the keyboard or the menu as you want. We also have select a group. We can cut, paste, all the usual, and undo as we were, and redo. Now, like the cooking shows, have a score already pre-baked, so we'll just load that in. And now this one menu item sample is kind of standing in for future development of the Neume Project, which is an online library of scores for sharing. So instead of that would be a full-blown interface for searching for scores, finding them, retrieving them, etc. For now, we'll just have the one sample. Now we can see, just as with clef changes, the custos and the clef as we transition from systems is added automatically. And if we do it, throw in a change of clef, that flows through automatically. We now see the C's clef has been moved down. Like that. We'll just undo that. And of course we have the usual file functions. You can open a score. There we go. We can of course save it. And we also have a print. I'm just going to go to preview here, but it does print out on your printer and looks quite lovely. Now for file export functions, currently there is no real file or graphics export planned. However, if you have a Mac, you can simply export or print to a PDF file. And PDF being the standard graphics format for the Mac, you can open it in Illustrator or to edit it, or just import it into Word or InDesign or what have you. I'm not sure what capabilities exist on the Windows side of things, but I'm sure there are print to graphics drivers out there that you can obtain. So that pretty much in a nutshell is the Neume Project editor as it exists at present. It's an ongoing project. Now, how much do you pay for all that? Well, there is more. And you perhaps have noticed this little C sitting out here, which is of course the starting note. And if we say, well, that's pitched a little low for me, we can raise the pitch, say 5 steps to an F. So this is now sounding an F, transposed to F. If you feel it's getting into Alvin and the Chipmunks territory, we'll bring it back down to a D. So the Neume Project is now online at neumeproject.ca. Come to the website, check out the news, use the editor, get in touch with me, get on our mailing list, get involved with our forum. This is a great place for posting your comments, bug reports, feature requests, etc. And documentation will be coming. It's nothing much there yet. You can follow us on Twitter. You can share the website in the usual ways. And I do invite you to get involved. Oh, and one more thing. You have the iPad Neume player. We'll load the score. And we will play it. And we can even change the pitch. Not now, Boz. Go on. Go on. And that is all for now, folks.